A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us on The Last Word tonight. My name is Sophia Wanuna. Today our focus is on impeachment of governors. Some have described them as the unimpeachable governors because several cases and charges of impeachment have been brought against several governors. The current matter is that of the Murang'a County Governor Nderitu Gachagua. The MCAs have voted to impeach him. The matter is currently being considered at the Senate by a full plenary. Others, of course, before him have also gone through the same process, some even the Senate endorsing, but the same being reversed by the court. So it has been quite a matter that tonight we'll be looking at to discover just what is it as far as impeachment and of these county bosses is concerned. Is it that the MCAs are bringing frivolous charges against them that cannot stand the threshold of impeachment, or is there a problem with the law in as far as the procedures that allow for the same to happen when the law has been broken? So stay with us for that, and we're asking you tonight on our Twitter poll question. Let me just go that to KTN News is where you can respond to us, and of course my handle is Sophia Wanuna. And as far as the Gachagua matter is concerned, tonight we want to hear from you. And our Twitter poll question, which I'll be giving to you shortly: do you think the Senate will approve Gachagua's impeachment? Do you think the Senate will approve Gachagua's impeachment? So I'll shortly be taking you through some of those issues that have been allegations that have been leveled against him, of course, as other governors around the country as well. But as is always the case here on The Last Word, let's begin with a look at some of our top stories tonight. And let's begin with President Uhuru Kenyatta has secured a deal with the Somalia President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, reversing the ban on flights carrying miraa from Kenya. Now, Kenyans had been holding their breath since this morning when it was announced that Uhuru was headed to Somalia for an IGAD meeting. And the revelation that the deal on miraa crop had been reached came just minutes after legislators from Meru County had once again slammed their governor Peter Munya over the miraa standoff.
That air transportation of miraa will be resumed, and that the resumption of flights will start tomorrow, the 14th of September.
Tanzania's opposition leader and former Prime Minister Edward Lowassa was among hundreds of mourners who gathered at the All Saints Cathedral in Nairobi for the requiem mass of former National Heritage Minister, the late William Ole Ntimama. Now, during the service, court leader Raila Odinga challenged the government to table the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission's report in Parliament in memory of the late Ntimama. Nearly all speakers painted a picture of a man whose track record in public life spoke for itself. And indeed, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto were represented by Interior Cabinet Secretary retired Major General Joseph Nkaiseri. To now a story that is, of course, forming the basis of our discussion tonight. Embattled Nyeri Governor Nderitu Gachagua has accused his political rivals of being behind his impeachment woes. Gachagua, who appeared before the Senate, pointed an accusing finger at his arch-rival, former Mathira MP Ephraim Maina, claiming that he influenced the county assembly members and sponsored the impeachment motion. But Maina, who's said to be eyeing the Nyeri governorship, dismissed Gachagua's claims as baseless. Chris Tairu was there and now reports.
Nyeri Governor Nderitu Gachagua pleaded not guilty before the Senate on 3 charges of abuse of office that saw members of Nyeri County Assembly vote to impeach him.
That you, being the chief executive of the county, failed to account or make proper disclosure of Kenya shillings 352,976,913. Charge 3.
In his opening remarks, Gachagua turned his guns against his political rivals in the county, led by former Mathira MP Ephraim Maina, claiming that they are responsible for engineering an impeachment motion against him.
A plot was hatched that I must be removed from office by all means possible. The meetings to plot for my removal were held at the home and under the chairmanship of Ephraim Mwangi Maina, a senatorial candidate who lost in the last general elections.
But the former Mathira MP Ephraim Maina, who is said to have ambitions for the position of Nyeri governorship, dismissed the allegations.
I have not been to Green Hills Hotel in Nyeri for more than 3 years. Nor have I entertained MCAs in my rural home for the purpose alleged by Mr. Gachagua.
The first meeting was held on 22nd April 2016 at Green Hills Hotel with a specific agenda to plan on how Governor Nderitu Gachagua would be left out in the leadership of the proposed Jubilee merger and to discredit his performance by any means possible.
I support the process for anybody in this country who has been asked to clear himself regarding either embezzlement.
Lawyers representing the county assembly told the Senate that Gachagua has been deliberately flouting the constitution when it comes to procurement and issuing tenders. They claimed that Gachagua cannot account for 846 million shillings from the period he has been in office, but Gachagua's lawyers were there to defend him.
The governor seems to have abdicated from taking any responsibility from the goings on in his office and in his county, despite being elected the chief executive of the county.
By the time I came back from hospital, I found that the members of the county assembly had allocated themselves each Kenya shillings 3 million and submitted the list of beneficiaries to my staff, the majority of whom were their friends and relatives.
These impeachment proceedings have no basis in law. We'll be demonstrating through evidence that if you examine the evidence from the county assembly, there is no evidence which they have submitted whatsoever that supports any of those charges.
The Senate will be expected to take a vote on whether to impeach Governor Nderitu Gachagua or not, probably Thursday afternoon. Chris Tairu, KTN News.
All right, Chris Tairu there setting for us the stage for tonight's conversation. Indeed, the Senate will be considering the matter of Gachagua for the next 2 days. Perhaps by Thursday we'll know their fate, but it's a story we'll continue to follow for you. But let's look up first. What does the law say in as far as impeachment is concerned? The grounds for the same. So gross violation of the Constitution or any other law, where there are serious reasons for believing that the county governor has committed a crime, and that of course is under national or international law. Then there's the abuse of office or gross misconduct, physical or mental incapacity to perform the functions of the office of the county governor. All this is under Article 181, Section 1 of the Constitution. And of course, as far as that is concerned, what happens is in subsection 33 of the County Governments Act, a majority of the members of the Senate vote to uphold any impeachment charge. When they do that, of course, the governor shall cease to hold office, or otherwise sometimes they will find that there is no cause. So let's look at some other cases of impeachment we have witnessed in the past, other than the one we are seeing right now. Mwangi wa Iria, of course, is Murang'a County governor. And of course, the charges he faced were abuse of office, misappropriation of county funds, violation of the Constitution. And this was in as far as the Public Finance Management Act is concerned and the Public Procurement and Oversight Act is concerned. So before we move away from this board, Mwangi wa Iria, so the Senate cleared him of all those charges. The allegations that are leveled against him, there was a committee that had been formed to investigate the same that was chaired by David Musila. They found that this did not meet the threshold for impeachment, so he was cleared by a Senate special committee. Let's go to the next governor, and that is Martin Wambora of Embu County. Now, if you remember, this is a matter that was drawn out for quite a long period of time. Some of the charges we saw there against him: appointment of public servants without the Assembly's approval. Then there was flouting the Public Procurement Act as well. Let's see what else he was being accused of: violation of the Constitution, the Public Finance Management Act, and as well the Public Procurement and Oversight Act, and there was also a charge of abuse of office. So in this particular matter, before again we move on, Martin Wambora was charges of impeachment, I beg your pardon, were brought about him 2 times by the MCAs in his county. Then the Senate approved his impeachment. The High Court as well, because he moved to court to challenge the same. The High Court approved that impeachment. However, it was overturned by the Court of Appeal. So it was a matter that was really drawn out, but that is how we saw it play out. Then there's Paul Chepkoni, Kericho County, charges violation of the Constitution, Public-Private Partnership Act 2013, misappropriation of county funds. Violation of Public Procurement and Disposal Act, recruitment of personnel creating officers. Let's move on to the next board. I'm already on that one. In the county, contrary to the provisions of the County Government Act. And by us, for his case, he was cleared by a special committee of the Senate. They found that he had in fact broken the law, but he had not reached the threshold to allow for impeachment, and therefore also said that that could not in any way forestall if there are any criminal charges to be brought against him. That's something that could happen if somebody sought to pursue the same. Before we introduce our guest to you tonight, Kivutha Kibwana, this again was quite a matter that went in as far as dissolution of the county being sought. So some of the charges he faced was usurping the powers and functions of the county executive committee. And then we had also incompetence, gross misconduct, abuse of office. So in this particular matter, the court, and that is said that Senate was barred from debating Kibwana's impeachment after the MCAs impeached him. The matter, of course, was taken to the Senate, but they were barred from debating and discussing the same because the judge ruled Mumbi that principles of natural justice were not observed. And then we later on saw him bring out the motion of dissolution of Makueni County, saying that the issues there in that county were irresolvable. However, when a tribunal or a committee, would you like, was formed to look at the same, they found that in fact that county had some serious, I beg your pardon, issues that warranted its dissolution, but President Uhuru Kenyatta did not agree with that finding. And so for the matter of Kivutha Kibwana as well, even in as far as the county being dissolved, which should have been setting precedent if in fact it had happened, but that has been some, and those have been some of the cases that we've witnessed in as far as impeachment is concerned. So that man on your screen right there, the Nyeri County governor. No, that's not Nyeri County, it's Murang'a County. I beg your pardon. But Nderitu Gachagua is the man that is currently no, I've got my issues mixed up. It is Nyeri County, right?
Yes.
I beg your pardon. Yes, it is. Yeah, facing impeachment right now. So, let me introduce my guest to you tonight. Dunstan Omari, who's a political analyst, is with us in studio.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for joining us. And Karungo Wathangwa, who's MCA in Kiambu, and I understand your word is Ngewa.
Ngewa,
I said that correct?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. So it's been a lot in as far as an impeachable governor, as we're calling it tonight, that we've witnessed in the past couple of years. Let's begin with the current matter, what we're dealing with, and that's the Nyeri governor. What do you make of it? Are you in support of your colleagues' impeachment?
Of course, when you listen to them and when you listen to the reasons they're giving, I would say they have strong reasons. And myself being a member of the Mount Kenya or Central Kenya region MCS caucus, we have discussed these issues. And I believe they have a strong case that they are going to use, or they have used against the governor of Nyeri, Nderitu Gachagua. But now the matter is in the Senate. We're waiting to hear what the Senate will do. But there's always an issue when it comes to how the Senate conducts their hearings. Because when you look at the law, when you look at how the Senate executes the hearing investigation, sometimes we ask ourselves, how come the whole assembly sits down and interrogates the governor and they impeach him, but only for the Senate to have an 11-member committee to listen to what the whole assembly had done? So that leaves room for senators, getting compromised.
But in this particular matter, we are seeing
it's a bit different. But if you look at it very clearly, you will see that that section that the Speaker of the Senate is using is not very clear, because it just says we are going to have, or the Senate shall have a sitting or a meeting to hear. So it does not elaborate. It is not clear what will happen after that, because it's just hearing. But when you look at section B down there that they use when it comes to getting the committees, the 11-member committee. That one elaborates very well. You have to investigate. You have to give the governor time, to listen to the governor. He has to defend himself. But the one the Senate is using right now, where every senator is there listening, it does not elaborate very well what will happen after that.
So that could be challenged in court. Could it be done? Stan, let me bring you in. Do you also share those concerns?
First and foremost, thanks, Sophia. What is outrightly wrong is that we have MCAs who have not understood the procedures of impeaching a sitting governor. When a county assembly sits for the purpose of impeaching a governor, they exercise powers of a quasi-judicial process. A quasi-judicial process is just like a tribunal set by the judiciary. They must gather evidence that can stand the test of cross-examination in a court of law. It's not about the question of slogans. So the question I've seen my good lawyer, my good friend Wanyama ask is that where is the evidence? I don't think there is really enough evidence. There is more about emotions and about politics other than the evidence. So the first thing, the evidence must be gathered. I wish to put on notice all the MCAs in this country to read the Wambura case and the decisions of the Court of Appeal. There are 4 grounds on which you must apply Section 33 of the County Assemblies Act and Article 181 of the Constitution. What are these? 1, there must be a nexus, a link between the alleged offense and the governor. Governors are not procurement officers. And I've seen omnibus charges, all of them are being charged of procurement. The governor simply does not do that wrong. And that is why the question of the nexus, how do you link that offense to the governor, the nexus? Number 2, the next thing that is there is the threshold. What is the test? What is the standard? What is the level of evidence that will be sufficient to impeach a governor?
And isn't that why then you have the process of what we are seeing now unfold with the Senate, so that when the same comes from the MCA's charges of impeachment, then there is seen to be a neutral, quote-unquote, arbiter that would then weigh and consider the matters before them, and then by a majority either vote and agree to impeach or not to impeach. So isn't that something that was put in the Constitution to allow for the process not to be abused?
That's what I'm saying. The law is very clear that those parameters must be followed from the inception at the county assembly before it comes to the Senate. The Senate tried to rubber stamp what MCAs passed. When it was taken to the courts of law, they were declared that that was a nullity. And I'm very clear that in my mind, the processes midwife justice. If the MCAs take more time to follow the law and to study what the parameters are, people like Nderitu Gachagua could not be in office. But the problem is they do not follow that process.
Because one of the pictures, as you say, make your comment, that has been painted is that these are MCAs that have a vendetta, political means they want to settle of some sort. Because, for example, one of the charges around the wellness center in Nyeri County, a while back, a few months ago when the matter came up, I remember the residents there protesting. I think they were holding, was it rats or something? It was just to express their not being in agreement with that particular move. So this is something that has been seen. These are MCAs that want to have their way. When they don't get their way, then they move to...
I don't agree with that at all. Because first of all, we need to understand that this is a political system. You see, when it comes to governors and MCAs and the whole governing body, when it comes to the county, it's political, just like the national government. And when the Constitution came by, Article 181, it gave all those grounds, and it gives them gross violation of the Constitution. It's talk about gross misconduct, and even if a governor has conducted or has a criminal act. But it has also gone down there to say the National Assembly should come up with a law that will explain how to remove a governor. And then they have done that through the County Government Act. Now, when you go to Section 33, now it explains that a member, an MCA, should come up with a motion. If this motion is supported by 2/3, then, and it passes, then the Speaker has 2 days to give to the Senate has 7 days to either one, and that's what I was talking about, 3A of the County Government Act. It says this, the Speaker of the Senate shall convene a meeting to hear the governor or to hear what the MCA had said. Just that. It does not explain. After you hear, what do you do? Then when you go to 33.3b, it talks about they can either form a committee. Now, this is the committee I was talking about.
Either or?
Either or. Either the hearing or either the committee. Now, what they are doing today, they have formed the committee, but they have gone back to the first